Almighty God, you have blessed us with memory, reason, and skill. Help us to use them wisely in the service of our town government. We ask this in thy holy name, amen. Let's do the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to address the board with any questions or concerns? Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes of, we got two meetings to approve here. November 7th, we had a special meeting, and November 12th, I'd like to take them separately.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from the special meeting on November 7th,
Okay.
2013.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions on the special meeting, November 7th? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The regular board meeting on November 12th.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the minutes from the meeting on November 12th, 2013 as well. I second that.
Thank you. Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. We need to approve the town clerk's monthly report as presented.
I make a motion to accept the monthly town clerk report for the month of November as written.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions on the town clerk's monthly report? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. You have your real property work schedule. They've changed the date now. They're here on Thursdays. There's always somebody here from the real property office on Thursdays to accept any questions or concerns about exemptions or whatever you have for the real property office. Every Thursday, once in a while, they'll be here on Wednesdays. If you want to call on a Wednesday, you best call ahead and make sure somebody's here. But on Thursdays, there's always somebody here. It's strictly for your information. We've been, to whom it concerns, the Southern Ireland Independent Living is requesting to use our facility, this room. They've provided us with an insurance certificate. I have no reason not to. I'd like a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion we approve the use of the facility for the health insurance.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. Adirondack Tobacco Free Network, it sent us a brochure. Adirondack Tobacco Free Network is a community partnership committed to reducing adolescent and adult use of tobacco. And if you read the second page, tells what they do and how they do it. We've always supported them. It's strictly for information. You have a letter from Tom Renane's law office pertaining to an upcoming, is it a section 78 maybe? Is that it?
Article 78.
Article 78. Somebody's appealing the zoning board's decision.
Correct.
Okay. That's in the courts. That will be handled. That's strictly for information. We need to approve, it was on the desk tonight here when we came in. Real property tax re-levy bills. These are unpaid water and sewer bills that are sent on to the county in November. We have a list of them. This is how we're reimbursed for unpaid water and sewer bills. Need a motion to approve?
And to approve the accounting re-levy. I'll second that.
Any questions on that tax levy, re-levy? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's motion carried. On your table tonight as we came in, you got your code officer's monthly report, strictly for your information. And you also have your dog compliance log, and your calls that he had to make during the previous month. That's strictly for your information. We need to schedule a year-end meeting. We're looking at Friday, the 27th of this month. For those that can make it, we usually have a meeting at the end of the year to pay the unpaid bills, so we don't pay that. We're looking for a daytime meeting if possible, so Jane can have the rest of the day to pay the bills.
I'm a tentative, as you spoke earlier,
Yes.
you know, I'll try and make it, but I can't promise that I'll be able, that I will
John,
be
you certainly should be
available.
able,
Yeah, what time did you say it was gonna be?
well, we have to discuss that.
Can it be on Thursday? Does it have to be on that Friday?
No?
Well, Jane said she'd like to have it on Thursday for some reason, but I don't remember what.
On Thursday?
On a Friday.
On Friday, oh.
27th.
I mean, it's fine with me.
That's what she told me this morning, that something, I don't know what's going on, but she'd like to
Steve,
have it on
you're gonna be
Thursday.
gone.
That's
That's okay. It's very formal, just pay the bills.
Make it at noon, that's what we
Yeah.
usually, right?
Good.
If that's okay, whatever, it's good.
You can make it at noon.
Oh, absolutely.
And John, for sure, and Dennis.
Yeah, well, I'll know on the 23rd if I'll be available on the 27th.
8:00 in the morning?
8 o'clock, noon, doesn't matter. I'll know on the 23rd if I'm available on the 27th.
So if I could have a motion to make end your meeting on the 27th, Friday the 27th at noon.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Probably should advertise that, Julie? I'm pretty certain we should, yeah. Okay. We have two things. One, we have our engineer here, Matt Cooper. And we also have Scott Allen here. Scott, I believe yours is scheduled for 7:30, correct?
So, yes.
Want to pay our bills?
We can pay the bills.
I mean, get that out of the way, then
Get
we'll.
that out of the way. I'll entertain a motion to pay the bills.
I make a motion to pay the bills as listed.
I second it.
Any questions on the bills? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. Alan's not here. I thought he would be. I can update you what I know on the highway committee. Today they were supposed to be working on the Southwick Road, putting guardrails in on that bridge. We expected to do it in 2 days, today and tomorrow. I expect that to be done. That was something we had talked about several months ago. I think that was connected area that she was doing that. And we've ordered a large culvert for the Waters Road. That bridge is unsafe. There's no guardrails on it, and the bridge is strictly unsafe. It's probably 100 years old or more. Very narrow. We had a company engineer come out and design the culvert, what type we need and to meet our specs. That is on order as far as I know. It just happened in the past 2 or 3 days here, so. I can't think of anything else on the highway other than keeping up with roads that are icy and
I know I spoke with him today as well, and there's a couple of other guardrails that are problems with that he's gonna have to go out as individual, and he's gonna, well, he's got these guys, 7-man crew. He's going to get them to replace a couple other, it's just the posts and stuff. There was a car accident down on the Hutchinson's Hill, and another place, instead of him going out with a backhoe and digging whatever while they're here,
okay.
he's gonna have them do those.
Can't think of anything else in the highway crew. I guess, Matt, we'll start with you. If you can't make it all before 7:30.
I'll work toward that.
Well, no, that's fine. I need to have a public hearing just for a few minutes at 7:30,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, our reason for being here tonight is to provide some status updates. I sent an email to you today. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at that.
Yes.
but it was kind of an update to the October, I believe it was an October 24th email that I had sent previously, just outlining the steps, those critical milestones from now until the time that the final application is due for the drinking water program, for the water district. As you saw in the email, several of those steps are complete. There are several critical steps remaining, and we have a summary prepared just to kind of talk through a lot of the things that we have remaining. Put the funding status first, because I'm sure that's on the front of everybody's mind is where's the money and when is it coming and where do we stand with that? Northern Border grants were announced back in October, and Champlain was not awarded any of the Northern Border grants. The reason we were told is that although the project scored very high in that program, they felt they were too small of a funding commitment or component to the project when you had no other commitments yet. So if they would have, see that 500,000 is 250 water and 250 sewer. They felt if they would have awarded you 250 for water, and that's the first and only offer you have at this point, it'd be potentially a waste of their money if you don't go forward. So that was the reason they told us verbally that they did not award it to this project. Unfortunately, that decision was made way back in July, prior to your project being rescored on the drinking water program and scoring way above the funding line. Had they known that back in July, you likely would have been, looked upon favorably for this money because they would have seen you're in line for the full $13.4 million from the drinking water program. So it was just bad timing in that case.
Can you apply next year, or is it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you
absolutely.
okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Local government efficiency grant and the Empire State Development grants all are to be announced tomorrow. Again, bad timing. I wish I had great news for you tonight, but I guess I'd settle for great news tomorrow. And in that, the local government efficiency grant is actually 400 water and 400 sewer, 400 each. And then for the Empire State Development, we applied for 1.5 water and 1 million sewer. Those figures were based on the highest percentages they told us they would consider toward projects. The Empire State Development grant, we had to pick them a number. We didn't want to ask for too much and have them turn you away thinking, gosh, if they need that much, we can't reach them. There's no sense giving them anything. So we tried to keep it down to a level where it looked like something they could reach with their funding dollars, but would still, be a significant improvement to our user rates should we be awarded that money. Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, that's the $2 million grant with the balance of the project to be covered in a 0% 30-year loan. Again, that's the February 3rd deadline we're working against now. That complete application requires the bond resolution, it requires the IMA. These last couple of things we're trying to get wrapped up in the next 40 days that we have to work on this. And then last is the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. And I want to spend a few minutes to talk about that. That is the EFC program for sewer projects. That is the application for which you received the letter November 25th from EFC, telling you had to have a complete application by February 3rd to be considered for funding in 2014, or to receive your funding in 2014. Again, the same requirements are needed for that. You have to have seeker done, district formation done, your bond resolution done, and your IMA done. Now, we have kept the sewer project a few steps behind the water, potentially. I think many of you didn't feel quite as comfortable moving forward with the sewer district formation until you saw something a little more positive on the funding side. Once we had the good news on the water back in August, that's when we said, okay, let's at least advance the water think we're gonna be in a good position for funding on that one. The sewer, you know, it was a conscious decision on your part to hold that one back a little bit on district formation because we did not have any favorable funding conditions yet for that. So where does that leave us then, knowing we can get those steps started with this February 3rd deadline? There's no way you can make it. It's impossible at this point. If you start adding up the time for seeker and you add in the time for district formation, it cannot be done by February 3rd. Now that does not mean you can't advance the sewer project in 2014 should you get a funding announcement tomorrow for that. All it means is you cannot access Clean Water State Revolving Fund money. Now, that program doesn't have any grant to it. It's just the loan that we were going to use for the project. So, we could still advance that project without that 0% loan, what it means is you'd have to take out a bond anticipation note and pay interest on it. Now, the sewer project isn't nearly the size of the water project. Sewer projects, or the water project's 13.5 million, the sewer project's 3.5 million. The first phase of it, which is likely what we would have to proceed with this year in 2014. I just don't think we're gonna get the grants needed to do phase 1 and phase 2 all next year. So, with that said, you're not gonna borrow nearly as much money in 2014 for the sewer project as you will the water. So the interest on what you would need to borrow for the sewer isn't all that significant. So to keep those two projects on the same schedule in 2014, you'll have to take a bond anticipation note for the sewer and pay interest on it all the way to 2015 until you can access the Clean Water 0% loan. That's it. So we're talking, you know, if you have to borrow $500,000, you know, at 2% interest, it's gonna cost a $3.5 million project, $10,000 in interest. You know, the project has probably, you know, 400,000 in contingency. So we pull $10,000 out of that in order to keep it on the same schedule as the water. That's all. We probably see more savings, quite honestly, keeping it on track and bidding it together with the water than that $10,000 interest will cost you, you know.
And did we factor in the sewer in all of our numbers about cost to the end user, or is this going to be on top of the cost to the end user?
There's been, you know, two complete separate user calculations for the water and the sewer. The water was the $812 a year.
Right.
We were checking the sewer is a whole separate rate, and I don't have those numbers right on the top of my head.
Okay.
But it's comparable to what the water had, just like the water is comparable to what the Michigan Town District spent.
So obviously, any of this grant money for the water would be taken off that 13.4, right? 13.4.
Correct. Now, we're already anticipating the $2 million coming off of 13.4. Again, we're pretty optimistic, pretty confident that you're gonna qualify for hardship funding, and you would be able to max out EFC's maximum $2 million grant for your project. So we're already planning on starting at 11.4 with loan and working our way downward, hopefully below 10 million, should some of these other funding announcements come in favorable. And it actually gets to the point, this project can't receive much more than $3.5 million grant before they'll actually start pulling some of the grant back
No.
because of your user rate.
Now, 3.5, that's off from the water or off from both?
Off the water, off the
Okay.
water. There'll be standalone projects
Yeah.
in the
So
finance.
you get more for the.
You get more for the sewer, correct. But, you know, the drinking water program, the one that is gonna be the major financing component for the water project, you know, has a criteria, their grant can't be more than 75% of your project cost. It can't be more than 2 million, that's their maximum. And it can't result in a user rate below their target service charge. You hit that target service charge once you get to about $3.5 million grant. So if somebody else gives you more grant, EFC's gonna pull it away, dollar for dollar, once you get to that threshold. So, you know, we'll have received all the grant we can possibly get, should, you know, 2 or 3 of these all hit. So, the steps are outlined in number 2 on here for the districts. Water, the adoption of Water District 6 can occur anytime after December 18th. Bond resolution, I had January 14th, I didn't realize Bill was preparing that bond resolution for us tonight. He never responded to my email today about that.
All better?
That's great, if it's there and we can pass it tonight, great news. And then the bond anticipation note, I would expect you to act on that. I don't know, perhaps he'll tell you can act on that at the end of the year meeting, I don't know. Again, he didn't respond to my email today about those things. Bottom line is you need to do it before the February deadline, also so we can get cash flowing, your general budget can, your general fund can start to recover from, the cost you have to develop it.
Yes.
And then last down there, the next thing, we really want to task your attorney with is consolidating the districts, getting that worked out. And then I have below that sewer, all that would be contingent upon some favorable funding announcements tomorrow. But, start to secure the public hearing, district formation resolution, bond resolution, an intermunicipal agreement. With the bond resolution completed tonight, really it leaves the IMA as the last big box to check for that funding deadline, February 3rd.
And when we met, there was no real hiccups.
Right,
with that,
everybody
so-
seemed to be on board. Bill sent me a draft a week ago. I made a couple comments more, very specific to the financial arrangements. He wasn't sure about the percentages on the debt payment and, what the town was willing to pay the village to operate and manage the system. So I gave him those numbers, straight off the spreadsheet that we shared last month. Really, it shouldn't have been more than an hour's worth of edits on that IMA. So I'm hoping he gets it to you and to the village as soon as possible.
I will be speaking to him tomorrow, hopefully. Sometimes it's hard to connect. And get it to the village, get our 2 boards together. I guess we can do it individually, we can accept it, or maybe approve it, I should say.
Yeah, approve it and authorize the supervisor to sign it. The catch is you don't want to make that resolution until you've heard from the village if they're okay with it. If they want edits, it doesn't do you any good to approve it as is.
Yes.
So, we want to at least get a verbal from them.
I will.
Yeah, we're gonna approve it as is.
Talk to the mayor.
Yeah. And then, further down, the last thing you have on there, but like I said, that's a little further down the road, is the sewer arrangements, essentially the IMA arrangements for rates operation and management. But again, we'll deal with that.
So that's a separate IMA?
That would have to be a completely separate IMA.
I guess tonight, the next thing I need to do is approve what Bill said.
The bond resolution.
Bond resolution. It's a 7-page document.
He's got a few different things attached to that. And I don't know, Julie, Julie, I'm not sure if you're familiar with everything that needs to be published in what order.
It's like that in different places.
Yeah, the last is the estoppel notice, obviously, which must be published later, is that, because he has written in that 20 days has passed. So I'm assuming you have to wait 20 days, I don't know, it might be worth getting some clarification from Bill,
Yeah,
if
I'll
you're not
try it.
sure. But the bond resolution is for 11.4 million, 2 million less than the total project cost, which corresponds to the minimum $2 million grant we identified as being needed just to move forward with the district.
I guess I need a motion to approve the bond resolution as presented to us from our town attorney.
So the bond is obviously for 13.4, and then grants would be taken off from that 13.4.
Actually, this only authorizes you to borrow 11.4. So this is
I missed
already,
that.
Yeah, it's
this is already taking in that assumption that you have to have at least $2 million grant to move forward with the project.
Oh, okay, right at the bottom.
Which correlates with your district formation paperwork. So that says you have to get $2 million in order to move forward with this district.
Right.
And that's the only way you can hit that $812 user charge. So that's the protection that the users have when they approve the district,
Right.
is that they, they're assured the rate can't be higher than 812, or else you're not authorized to proceed with the project.
But it also gives confidence in the grant process that we're relying on at least 2 million in the grant process to move forward. I mean, that's a good piece.
It's the desire of the board here. Any motion to approve if that is what we wish.
Well, I mean, I've always, I think we're all in the same boat. If you don't build it, they won't come, that's for sure. So,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bond resolution for water district number 6 as written.
I'll second that.
Is there any questions? I believe we'll have a roll call vote on this one. John?
Aye.
Dennis?
aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And yes for myself also. The motion passes.
The last thing I'll squeeze in my last 2 minutes is a quick schedule update. The schedule that we have been going by that I prepared this last spring, shows us starting construction in June next year. Well, that was based on district formation being completed by July. Now that we're 5 months behind that, I would anticipate our construction start to lag by 5 months. So instead of June next year, we're probably looking more like November.
Will they start a project in the fall deal like that?
They can. I mean, they'll, depending how early in the fall.
Yes.
I mean, if they can get a good running head start with some favorable conditions, a lot of times, they'll keep cranking. If real winter has set in before they put the first shovel in the ground, they may hold off till spring. We'll continue to push to try to get this as fast as we can next year, to try to break down early fall instead of late fall. That would make the difference of whether or not they've got, 6 months of production in by spring of 2015, or they're starting the first excavator in spring of 2013.
Because by the middle of 15, we need water and sewer for certain.
We had projected completion of the project by May 2015, so if that lags by 5 months, everything should be done by, October.
It's gonna pass through a winter cycle no matter when it
Yeah.
starts, right?
It's a 12-month project usually, so construction of those water storage tanks is usually 12 months. Just because of the lead time on fabrication. I mean, that'll take 4 to 6 months just to have the whole tank fabricated, and then they bring it in piece by piece and hand it up.
Was there any more on the DOT station? Is that dead?
What service road?
I had correspondence with DOT last probably 2-3 months ago, at least, with Chris Raw, and he said, I told him we'll probably be in the ground digging by 2014, and his response was, well, you'll probably still be ahead of us.
Okay.
So, he didn't say the project was a definite, and he didn't say it was canceled. He just said that date would probably be prior to them breaking ground.
Okay. You tell me, no, don't worry.
No, I'm all set. If
You got a
you
couple questions?
have any questions, and if something comes up after tonight, you all have my email, you all have my phone number, feel free to call or email with any questions, concerns. Available anytime. Hunting season's over, so I'm actually reconnecting with civilization again.
Can you bring us any medicine?
I brought 3 deer up to Corey tonight, but, I can go steal a couple packages if you like.
Just teasing.
Thank you. We'll try to
Yes,
keep
thank
on
you,
task
Matt.
here. We'll be in contact.
All right, great. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Matt.
If I don't talk to you again, have a Merry Christmas.
You too, Matt.
Do you need to read the rules for the public hearing, the public hearing on this one?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, okay.
Or just tell us when it was published.
Legal notice is hereby given that pursuant to section 20 of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York in pursuit to a resolution of the town board of the town of Champlain adopted August 13, 2013, and again on November 7, 2013, the said town board will hold a public hearing at the town hall, 729 Route 9, town of Champlain, on the 10th day of December 2013 at 7:30 p.m. to hear all interested parties and citizens regarding the adoption of proposed local law number 2 of the year 2013. Titled, A Local Law Amending the Town of Champlain Zoning Law, enacted May 25, 1994, and last amended December 7, 2007. Submission of written comments are encouraged and should be submitted to the supervisor of the town of Champlain prior to the scheduled public hearing. Further information, including access to a copy of said proposed local law, may be obtained at the town clerk's office, town board of the town of Champlain. The drafted amended zoning ordinance is available for review and download on the town's website.
Thank you. Yes, we need a motion to adjourn the regular meeting, go to a public hearing.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and to go into public hearing.
I'll second that. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Scott?
Yes.
You're on board.
Mr. Supervisor, I'll just give a few brief comments here, get us all back up to speed on where we are with this thing, and remind us a little bit of where we've been. I guess we're not going to have as much public input tonight as we had in one of our prior public hearings, so I'll try to make my comments brief. But just to go back, if you look at your March, April, May 2012 board minutes, you'll see references to the to some actions taken on getting this project going, the zoning rewrite. And July 2012 through May 2013, the zoning amendment advisory committee that you appointed met on 11 or 12 occasions and held public meetings during that time frame. And then in June and July 2013, there were joint meetings held of the zoning board and the planning board to review the draft that the zoning advisory, the zoning amendment advisory committee prepared. And the draft was then forwarded on to you, the town board. And then in August 2013, the town board adopted a seeker negative declaration. And then in September 10, 2013, at your regular meeting, you scheduled the first public hearing on this local law for adopting the revised zoning ordinance. October 1st, 2013, there was a well-attended public hearing. Many comments were received. At that meeting, the town board decided to hold a special meeting with the ZAC, the Zoning Amendment Advisory Committee. So on November 7th, that special meeting was held with the ZAC. It was a work session style of meeting. It was a rather lengthy meeting, and the discussion revolved mostly around two issues in the zoning ordinance. Those two issues were the keeping of animals on lots and the treatment of travel trailers on parcels in the town of Champlain. And I will, well, let me ask we put on the website the change language for those two sections, the keeping of animals and travel trailers. Has everybody seen those and familiar with that language? I think we addressed everyone's concern, and we hammered out new language that November 7th meeting, and Julie's got it up on the website to show what the changes in that language have been. Also at the November 7th meeting, you decided to schedule a second public hearing, and that's where we are this evening for our public hearing. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Supervisor, if you want to receive any further comments on the public hearing.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who have any comments Well, two major issues. Are any comments on any from members on the law? Does anybody suggest the board? You pretty well know what we've agreed to and what we say. Maybe you wanna, can you read the changes?
I certainly can, yes.
Those two changes only? That we,
Sure.
Okay, so there's no misunderstanding?
Actually. Yeah, I got it right here, I can hand it out. I got handouts of this, but I'll just read. Basically, under section 130-26, keeping of animals, the old language said, no pigs or fowl shall be kept within 200 feet of any pre-existing neighboring residential property line, except on land within an agricultural district established by the Clinton County Legislature pursuant to New York State Agriculture and Markets Law. That was the language, the old language that was in the ordinance. Now, after much discussion, the new language reads as follows. No manure pile may be stored within 100 feet of a property line. That's the new language. Okay, the next section, travel trailers located outside travel trailer parks. Let me read what the new language says. This is section 130-29. A, storage. No more than 2 travel trailers may be stored outdoors on any property, except no travel trailer may be stored within a flood zone as established by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. B, a travel trailer may be temporarily inhabited up to 15 days per year on any property. C, any travel trailer that is inhabited or used for sleeping or eating quarters must be connected to adequate water, sewer, and electrical facilities. If electrical power is supplied by a generator, the noise from the generator may not exceed 65 decibels at the nearest property line and may not be operated between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. D, this says C, but we need to change that to D. There's 2 C's in a row there. So D, before a travel trailer can be inhabited on a property for more than 15 days, a permit must be obtained from the Town of Champlain zoning officer. The maximum allowed days per permit is 150 consecutive days per year. Only 1 permit per parcel may be issued in any calendar year. Once such a permit has been issued and expired, the travel trailer must be moved by at least 30 feet from its inhabited location and cannot be inhabited for at least 215 days, after which another 150-day permit can be applied for. And then E, no travel trailer may be parked in any zoning district for a rental purpose. And that's the new language of 130-29.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Dennis, you go for any other questions?
No, I'm good. Good night.
Anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns that we need to, okay, everybody pretty much on board with what we agreed to, so to speak, at our last board meeting, with the changes? Okay. This is, permissive referendum after 30 days, even if we pass it this evening, am I correct? No?
It's a local law.
Yeah, I don't believe so. It's like any local law you adopt, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, we've had, the general public had many opportunities to
Right.
voice their concerns with us, and they have, which was good. Okay? So I need a motion to approve the zoning laws as written, not just these 2, it's the whole thing now.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, now I need a motion to approve the zoning changes as presented to us. I need a motion.
There's local law, the record still isn't
Yeah, it's like law number 2.
Need to go on number 2? Okay. Somebody
And make a motion to approve local law number 2 for
Zoning
2016.
changes, okay. Do I have a second?
Yes, you, second.
Any questions? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Myself, thank you. At this time, we'd like to thank the committee that worked diligently for several months. Years. Months turn into years. They worked for 2 or 3 years on this, I know we've been talking about it for a long time, very diligently, and we thank them for their time and their input. Certainly, the zoning laws need to be updated, and we're almost 20 years old, so we do thank them for all the time they put in. It's muchly appreciated. Anybody else got any comments?
And Mr. Scott Allen.
Scott, yes.
It's been a pleasure, working with you. I'll follow up with Bill Favreau. You'll get the law, it'll become effective when it's filed with the Secretary of State. You'll get it filed with them, and upon filing, it'll become immediately effective, and you'll have a final PDF copy to put on the website. And I think that's the best way for the public to have access to it. Obviously, I'm sure they can still continue to, contact Julie and Mike and ask for a hard copy of it, but, most people probably prefer to download it right on the website.
Is our town attorney the one that sends it on to the state? Who's in it, Julie?
Well, we love
Yes. Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything to report?
This was pretty true stuff.
The only thing I'd like to say, this is the world of the
Pretty much.
yeah. Obviously, no, this is my last, board meeting, public, other than the, year-end, which I'm not sure if I can make. I'd like to thank the board for, working with me, you guys are great to work with, you guys are a great board, Alan does a wonderful job. Mr. Tatro, you're a real asset to the, town, and, you take a lot of crap, but you do a great job, and I thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you for the last year and a half, so thanks.
We thank you for your service.
Putting the time. Obviously, if my job is unknown, it's not a matter of if I'm gonna be getting a new job, it's a matter of when. So that's the reason why I opted not to run, because I have no clue what my future is, so, or if I'm gonna be here or somewhere else.
It's certainly been a pleasure working with you, and we enjoyed you.
Yep, so, thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
Mr. Moore?
And as, I'd just like to say, as a true friend, Dennis, unfortunately, we didn't see anywhere near the potential. I worked with Dennis for 20 years, and he's a great individual, and he's never delegates anything that someone that he wouldn't do. And I know both working with him and then at the town as well, all committees that we ever worked on together, Dennis always was stepped forward and very easy to work with. As well as a true friend, he's someone that does some things for someone and never expects anything in return.
So, it's not like I'm leaving today, but, I do thank you guys.
We will allow you to come back and visit with us.
Sure.
No, we certainly enjoyed you. Being a town board member is not always easy.
Oh,
It's time consuming, it can be time consuming, and, but there's something to be said about public service, okay? Does anybody else have anything to bring before the board? Then I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you all.
I didn't get a chance to look up.